Hello, this is Storybooks channel. New videos are posted every day. Subscribe and click the bell.
It was a beautiful sunny summer day. The whole family was out on the terrace. The head of the family, Andrew, was sitting in the shade of the gazebo, wearing a robe and a black eye patch, drinking coffee. His wife, Cindy, was sunbathing in a chaise lounge with a cocktail. The woman had a flawless appearance and a perfect figure, like the cover of a glossy magazine. She fluttered her long, doll-like eyelashes and yelled at her stepdaughter, a child of about 7, who was running around the pool trying to catch a butterfly with her net. "Maria, stop running, settle down. You can play in peace for 5 minutes. Impossible child." The little girl was very active and pretty. Her blonde curly hair and chubby cheeks made her look like a little angel. She was used to being disliked by her stepmother a long time ago, so she didn't even lift a finger when she was told off. A beautiful huge butterfly with colorful wings sat on the edge of the pool. Maria carefully took her phone out of her pocket and wanted to catch a good shot. She came closer and closer to the edge of the pool, and suddenly stumbled and flew somersaulting into the water. Maria started screaming and floundering. She was panicking because she wasn't a good swimmer. "Daddy, Daddy, I'm drowning. Help me." My father rushed frightenedly toward the pool, but he was almost blind and walked very unsteadily, staggering and catching space with his hands. He asked his wife for help. "Cindy, can't you hear it? Help me, please. I can't see where I'm going." But the woman did not even get up from the lounger, but only resented it. "You jumped up and down, didn't you? I told you to sit still. I'll teach you a lesson. Don't yell. Swim to the edge and get out." Zach the gardener dropped the mower and rushed to the pool at the girl's screams and jumped into the water. He pushed the child to the surface and carried her out of the water. The girl was frightened and clung to her father and cried, "Daddy, I was so scared. I only wanted to take a picture of the butterfly. My phone drowned too. I didn't mean to." He comforted the child. "Never mind, sweetheart, we'll get you a new one. It's such a small thing. The main thing is that you are alive and well. Run and get changed in the house. From now on, please be careful not to go close to the edge. The tiles are very slippery. Come on, don't cry my gold. Don't scare Daddy like that." Cindy, on the other hand, was even more agitated. "What a weakling you are. You could have spanked the wretch for disobedience. She almost drowned herself and ruined an expensive thing. So all you do is babysit her, and she's already on her head. When are you going to find a nanny for your daughter? I cannot get along with her. She is spoiled and unbearable." But Andrew sharply besought Cindy, "How dare you? Your daughter almost drowned, and instead of saving her, you sit here and get smart. Thank you, Zach. Maria is just a kid who lost her mother. I love her madly, and you have to accept that if you want to be with me. Or do you think that if you have your baby, he won't run around and be naughty? And I'll get a nanny. I've already placed an ad. But you can see I'm blind. It's very hard to do now." The woman realized she'd overreacted and took a sharp turn for the worse. "Don't be angry, honey. I love you very much, you know. And I'm very worried. But think about it. I can't be tied to Maria 24 hours a day. I have training, fitness, massage, and beauty salon. And now after what happened to you, I also have the business on me and your daughter. So you hurry up and find a babysitter. It'll make life a lot easier for all of us. All right, I'm gonna go pack. I have a manicure at 12 and a massage at 2. It's all scheduled literally by the minute. Kisses. Don't get bored here." Maria was glad her stepmother was about to leave and sat quietly beside her father, wrapping her little arms around him. "I'm sorry, Dad, I really didn't mean it. Why is Cindy so mean? She doesn't love me at all, and she doesn't love you either. You just don't see it. Mommy loved us. I miss her so much. Don't you?" The man sighed and held his daughter close to him. "I miss you too, my little one. I miss Betty very much. She was the best. But you know she's in heaven now. And Cindy isn't bad. You just haven't gotten used to each other yet. But I promise you'll choose your own nanny. By the way, another candidate should be coming soon." The little girl kissed her father on the cheek and ran off to play with the dolls in the yard. while Andrew covered his aching eyes and began to remember his life. My God, why is everything so unfair? Just met a good woman, Betty, and pretty, and a great hostess, from a decent family, and most importantly, she did not want him, live and enjoy it. But no, 2 years ago, his wife died of a serious genetic disease, and she began to develop it after childbirth. First, her vision became impaired, then her memory, then her legs began to fail, and then Ina became ill and gradually died. It was so scary, so frightening when you watch how a young and flourishing beloved woman becomes a helpless invalid. And you howl with helplessness, because no most expensive medicine in the world cannot raise her on her feet. After Betty's funeral, the daughter withdrew, cried for a long time, and was still pining for her mommy. Andrew, too, thought he couldn't live with anyone else. But one day at a business dinner at a restaurant, he saw Cindy. She was sitting with a friend, drinking martinis, and chirping merrily about something of her own. The business dinner also turned smoothly into fun with dancing. And now he and Cindy were already dancing a slow dance, and she was kissing him passionately. And Andrew was unable to resist the young and so desirable body and the pressure of the beauty. And so their romance began. Cindy cooed and whirled around the businessman, gave him unearthly bliss in bed. He also did not offend his beloved, gave her expensive jewelry and outfits, took her to parties and clubs. Soon Cindy insisted on the wedding, and somehow, very quickly she settled in and felt like the lady of the house. She confidently handed out tasks and commanded everyone. The only thing was that they didn't get along with Maria, and it was mutual. Andrew, in truth, thought that Maria was just jealous of Cindy, and that it would pass in time. But even after 2 years, the situation had not improved. The stepmother and stepdaughter were at war openly. And recently, 2 weeks ago, this terrible thing happened. Their chauffeur, John, had been called away on personal business, and Andrew had to drive himself. The businessman had been working late that day, and just as he was approaching his car in the parking lot, he was attacked from behind by 3 thugs. The man had to get into a fight, but one of the scoundrels sprayed pepper spray in his face. The businessman was lucky that a patrol car was passing by, and the hooligans retreated. But the burn to the eyes was so severe that Andrew was nearly blind, wore black glasses or a bandage, and received intensive treatment. But the doctors told him right away that if the medication didn't help, they would have to perform an operation to restore his sight. It was a bit of encouragement to the man that there was a chance to get his sight back, but still, he was terribly nervous that for a while he became practically disabled and had to sit at home with a cane for the blind all the time. And business is a serious and brutal thing. You can't get out of line here. You always have to be in line. The most frustrating thing was that the businessman could not understand who he had pissed off so much. It had been a long time since he had had such violent conflicts. Now he had to manage the company from home, call the cougars, and hold conferences online. His wife Cindy, on the other hand, had quickly infiltrated his business and was diving headlong into his business. This surprised Andrew, but there was no way out. He could not find a closer assistant in such a situation. A pleasant voice brought him out of his musings. "Good afternoon. Are you Andrew? My name is Miranda. I'm here through an ad for a babysitting position. I have an appointment at 12 o'clock. The businessman smiled. He could not see his vis-a-vis, but for some reason he thought she was a pleasant young girl. He started asking questions. "Miranda, how old are you? How long have you been working with children? Do you have references from your previous place of work? And what is your education? I just love my daughter very much, and I want to find a real professional for her, to be safe for her." Miranda sighed. "Then I'm probably not right for you. I don't have any references, but I love children very much, and I'm willing to work for a small fee. Maria and I have already met. She's a wonderful girl. I promised to be with her all the time, to take care of her." Then Maria came running up. Seeing her father's hesitation and frown, she chirped cheerfully, winking at Miranda. "Daddy, let's take Miranda. I like her very much. I promised to obey her and not to be spoiled. Didn't you say the other day that I would choose my own nanny?" The men weighed everything up. She seemed very young for a nanny, 23 only, no experience, no references at all. Who knows what kind of person? But her voice. What a wonderful voice she had. And Maria liked her very much. This is the first time. Oh, what will be, will not be. And he agreed. Okay, Miranda, I'll take you, but with a probationary period. You can start right away. In Maria's room, there's a class schedule and a daily schedule. It must be strictly adhered to. You are expected to take your child to dance and drawing. Take her for walks. Help her with her lessons. Make sure she eats well. And report to me personally if there is any change in her well-being. Is that clear? The delighted girl almost cried tears of joy. She really needed the job. She thanked Andrew. Thank you. You won't regret it. I'll try very hard. So, Madjanka, show us your kingdom. Where is your room? We'll figure out what's what. From that day on, Miranda began to work in the family. She did a great job. Maria simply adored her. They somehow got along right away. Miranda managed to find an approach to the girl. She did not pressure her, did not scold her. They were more like friends. If Miranda saw that Maria was getting lazy or didn't want to write the unfortunate letters, she would get crafty. She'd have a contest right away. So, let's have a competition. Whoever completes the task faster and better will get the biggest and tastiest vanilla ice cream, and whoever loses will eat oatmeal for 2 days. Let's do this, shall we? Personally, I hate oatmeal. Do you? And Maria huffed and puffed and made those hateful hooks, trying to outrun Miranda and not eat unpalatable mush. It was working perfectly. Andrew couldn't be happier with his new nanny, and his daughter was enjoying her excellent grades and good moods. In the evenings, she would talk about how Miranda had taught her how to make intricate hairstyles or weave macrame. Cindy, on the other hand, was not happy with her new babysitter and kept muttering, "What a choice you made for Maria, the nanny. I don't know what to say. Not only is she a young whore, but she spoils her even more than you do. What kind of education is that? Maria needs to be tougher. Don't let her get away with it. What if she gets loose? It's as if the girl doesn't notice me. She used to be angry, but now she just keeps quiet and goes to her Miranda. This is unheard of." Andrew laughed. "There's no pleasing you, honey. No babysitter. Bad. There's a babysitter. Bad too. Rude Maria. Didn't like it. Silent Maria. Bad too. Maybe it's not about Maria at all, and you just don't want to find an approach to the child." Cindy pursed her lips and became disgruntledly silent, thinking to herself, "Do what you like. As long as that obnoxious girl doesn't cling to me. So annoying." There was a grand piano in the rich man's mansion. Andrew had been a musician in the past, so he bought a high-quality instrument on purpose. Sometimes nostalgia would come over him, and he would play a tune on it. But when he heard Miranda and Maria learning a dog waltz, playing together on the piano and laughing merrily, he almost fell off his chair. Started asking the girl questions. "Miranda, can you play the piano? I am pleasantly surprised. I'm a former musician too. Play something else, I'm curious to hear." The girl was embarrassed. "I'm not an expert. I just had a good music teacher at the orphanage, Wendy. She taught me, said I had an ability. But I really like music in general, especially that tune. It's very soulful." And Miranda played a slow and romantic melody, and Andrew literally fell into a stupor. Tears rolled down his cheeks, and his soul was overturned by the old experiences of his youth. He kept repeating to himself, "My God, this is simply impossible." After all, this melody had been written by herself and known by only one girl. And it was obviously not Miranda. The voice is not right, and the age is not right. But how? How does she know this tune so well? Was Kelly really a relative of hers, or a good acquaintance? We've got to find out right away. When Miranda had finished, he thanked her and began carefully asking Miranda for the necessary information. "Say, Miranda, how do you know this tune? It's very rare, and it's not recorded anywhere, that's for sure. Not only that, it was written by someone I know." The girl replied, "My roommate, Kelly, taught her how to play. She's such a good woman, talented. If you could hear her play, you could listen to her. But she's not having much luck. She's having a lot of trouble. Her son was taken away, and she was fired from her job for nothing. She's so depressed. Of course, I cheer her up as much as I can. The businessman's heart was ready to jump out of his chest, and his legs became padded, and he began to ask more questions. How old is your neighbor? And how old is your son? Why and where were they taking him? That's a very interesting story. Miranda sighed. Kelly, she's about 30. I didn't ask, to be honest. And my son's name is Peter. He's 9 years old. He's such a great kid, smart and serious beyond his years. I don't know if Kelly was married or who Peter was with, but she once casually mentioned her first and tragically failed love. Kelly worked as a music teacher in a private school. She made a very decent salary, worked hard. Except the principal had his eye on her. He was married, in his 50s, even had grandchildren. And still he wouldn't leave Kelly alone, pestering her brazenly. If she did not agree to sleep with him, he would make her such a life that she would crawl to him herself and beg for intimacy. But Kelly was no shy, and when the headmaster once again pinned her to the wall and began to brazenly climb under her skirt right in the office, she slapped him and threatened to go to his wife and tell everything and report to the police will write. That's when the old pervert got mad and really gave Kelly a nightmare. Some people broke into Kelly's room, opened the door so neatly you couldn't dig it up, and made a mess of it, scattering cigarette butts and empty vodka bottles everywhere. And as soon as Kelly went into the room with her son, after picking him up from school, she was rushed in by child welfare and bogus witnesses. And she herself didn't understand where the horror and filth had come from. So they took Peter away, saying that Kelly was drinking and not taking care of her son, and all that kind of stuff. But that's a total lie. I used to go over to my neighbor's house. It was always clean, I swear. She didn't smoke, and the only time we could have a drink was on a birthday or other holiday, and then some wine. In general, Kelly was in shock. She pounded the doorsteps of all the authorities, tried to get her son back and prove that she had been lied to, but all in vain. The principal fired her from her job and shamed her in front of everyone, telling her on every corner that she was an alcoholic and a negligent mother, and that she did not belong in school. Since that day, Kelly has fallen completely out of spirits, spends all her time under the windows of the orphanage and sobs. Peter also suffers there, begs to go home. Can you imagine what it is like for a homeboy to end up in an orphanage? They only tell you on TV how wonderful it is and how the children are fed and clothed. I myself am an orphan and lived there. It's a nightmare. Few remain normal there. They don't consider such children to be people. They are just second-rate, and that is why they mock them as much as they can. I feel so sorry for both Kelly and Peter. I would have strangled that old pervert with connections who ruined my neighbor's life for the sake of lust. Andrew was in shock. He listened, and the tears flowed by themselves, irritating his already damaged eyes. Everything was a match. It couldn't be. He asked in a trembling voice, "Miranda, I'm begging you, bring Kelly here tomorrow. I really need to see her, or at least hear her. You see, she and I know each other, but it's a long story. Just do as I ask." The girl was greatly surprised, but nodded her head. "Okay, whatever you say. I'll come with her tomorrow morning then. If she wants me to, of course. But how can I explain it to her? Why does she have to go to someone else's family?" The man said in a faltering voice. "Just tell her that Donut is waiting for her very much. She'll understand, no doubt about it." When Miranda left to feed Maria lunch, Andrew closed himself in his office, put his arms around his head, and began to remember his youth and Kelly. How long it had been, as if it hadn't been with him at all. Andrew grew up with his mother alone. He never knew his father. As a child, he was told tales about a polar explorer, a geologist. But when the boy grew up, he understood everything himself and did not ask silly questions anymore. From his early childhood, Andrew adored music. He could sit for a long time and listen to a favorite tune. And once, when he and his mother were visiting friends, the 5-year-old boy sat down at the piano and simply tried the keys and was able to play a simple tune. Mom decided to send her child to music class, and that's where he met Kelly. Their love began in the 5th grade. Andrew well remembered how he was stunned when he saw this pretty thin girl with 2 huge bows and a folder in his hands. Our hero, on the other hand, had been a bit overweight as a child, and he was jokingly teased as a donut. They were put at the same desk, and from that day Kelly and Andrew became best friends. And then they decided to go to music school together, made their first serious progress, performed at concerts. Over the years, they became so close, their families were friends, their destinies were so closely intertwined, that their childhood friendship gradually grew into true love. Kelly was always so airy and dreamy, and all material things were not important to her. She lived for love and music, and didn't pay much attention to the fact that musicians' salaries are small, and they have to live within their means, saving money for everything. Andrew, on the other hand, was very annoyed by all this. He, like any man, dreamed of his own house, a cool car, wanted to dress decently and live comfortably. That is why, having graduated with flying colors from school, he did not go further but tried his hand in trade and started his own business. The couple argued more and more on this point. Kelly tried to get through to her lover. "Andrew, what are you doing? Don't give up music. It's your talent, your vocation. You're really gifted. Why do you carry these huge bales and bags? Don't get enough sleep, fight off racketeers, what for? Your fingers are made for other things, to play, to create." The guy was angry. "Kelly, I don't understand you. You're like a stranger. Can't you see what's going on in the country? We're poor, you can't find a job in a day. How and what are we going to live on? On the 3 kopecks we earn from music? Who needs these concerts now? What am I slaving away for? So I can give you these gold earrings, so I can dress well and eat well. The other one would be happy, and you. You could give private lessons and earn good money, instead of teaching me about life." Kelly took great offense, took off those very earrings and threw them in her fiancé's face. "Take it for yourself. It's not a gift if you're going to reproach it with it. We should probably break up. I don't understand you. I don't know what has happened to you. Why have you changed so much? You become rigid, dry, and soulless. I want a quiet, simple family life. I don't want riches, but faithfulness, trust, and love. And you're like a madman, obsessed with bloody money. You've been gone 24 hours a day, your eyes are red, you've given up music. When was the last time you sat down at the piano? And I won't give private lessons. There's no need to steal money from the kids. I'll explain it to them at school too, if I have to stay after lessons." Andrew waved his hand angrily. "So go away. Live as you like. You're so blessed. You'll be sorry you left me. I'll make it in the world, become a big businessman, and then we'll see." So foolishly, for no good reason, the couple fought and broke up. Andrew went headlong into his career, and indeed pretty soon he managed to open his own business, a chain of car repair shops. Everything spun and spun and spun, and he was busy day and night, like a squirrel in a wheel. Then he met Betty, got married, had a daughter, and other worries began. In this frantic whirlwind, he had no time to look back. His wife's death shook him badly, but even then he somehow drifted with the current and succumbed to the charms of seductress Cindy. Not that he did not love his wife or was indifferent to Cindy, no. There were feelings, passion, affection, anything but that very unique, light and pure, like a summer breeze, feeling of happiness, flight and fluttering. It was something he had felt only then, in his youth, for his Kelly and the music. And only now, when he heard the very tune of his youth, written by Kelly, his heart ached and a frantic longing came over him. For those carefree years of his youth, he longed madly to meet Kelly. A heart-to-heart talk. No matter how you look at it, the first love lives in a person's heart for life. It is not forgotten under any circumstances. The man could hardly wait until the next day, and he had been shaving and grooming himself carefully, even if almost by touch, since morning. He could hardly wait for Cindy to leave for the salon. He was terribly annoyed by her idle chattering about rags and flushing bones with neighbors and acquaintances. Miranda took Maria to school and came home not alone, but with Kelly. Andrew could only see a blurry silhouette, but the light scent of that same floral perfume and her gentle, bell-like voice were no different at all. The woman exclaimed, "Andrew, my donut, no way. What a meeting." When Miranda told me yesterday that Donut wanted to meet me, I didn't even believe it. And you've changed a lot. You've become a brutal and prominent man. What happened? Why did you want to meet me? I understand you're married with a daughter. And why do you have a black eye patch? Are you sick? Andrew listened to these shimmers, and tears rolled from his eyes. He took Kelly's hand in his touch. She was just as soft and tender, with long fingers made only for music. The man began to go over and kiss each finger and whispered, "Kelly, darling, how glad I am to see you, to inhale your fragrance. I hadn't forgotten anything, not a minute." What fools we were to have parted then. What's the matter with me, you ask? 2 weeks ago, some thugs attacked me and sprayed me in the face with pepper spray. And now I can almost go blind. I can only see blurry silhouettes. Doctors say I need an operation. But it doesn't matter. Miranda told me you have a son, Peter. Kelly, tell me, is he mine? Tell me the truth. I did the math. Do I really have a son? The woman sighed and answered quietly. Yes, Andrew, Peter is your son. You were the only man I ever had. I couldn't forget you. I couldn't get you out of my head. But I couldn't. But they took away my son. My heart is torn. I worry terribly. I can't sleep. I just keep watch outside the windows of the orphanage, waiting for him to wave to me from the window. Why do I have to go through all this? I've done no harm to anyone. I hate that lustful bastard, Edward. He ruined my whole life. And what's more, he's got everything everywhere. He's paid everyone, the scoundrel, just to hurt me more. I'm so desperate. I'm going to agree to his terms and sleep with him just to get my son back. There is no other way out. Andrew squeezed her palm hard and almost screamed. No, don't even think about it. That's why I called you, because I want to help you get the kid back. Leave me all his details, and yours too, and I will find the right people, hire the best lawyers, and together we will nail this scoundrel. I got connections on the police force too. Remember Alex? You won't believe it, he's already a police captain. I met him last month by chance. So don't worry, I'll get him back. I'm not gonna let my son run around in foster homes. Please trust me, Kelly, everything will be fine. I've never met anyone like you before, and I won't let you go anywhere, just so you know. They said a warm goodbye, and Kelly really found hope. She knew Andrew never let words go to waste, and she still loved him dearly. Andrew called Alex, who immediately responded to his friend and classmate's request, offering to run the operation. Kelly was to call the principal, supposedly agree to his terms, and make an appointment. She would be given a microphone with her, and an operative would be waiting outside the door. The woman's job was to get the bastard to admit that he was the one who caused all the trouble. Then he can be nailed. So they did. Kelly was worried and anxious, but she was willing to do anything for her son, so she exhaled and determinedly dialed the principal's number. He reluctantly said, "What's on your mind, you stubborn young lady? Or why are you calling?" Kelly was bubbling with anger, and she could barely contain herself, but she responded as gently as possible. "Edward, I'm begging you, give me my son back. I'll do anything. Let's meet. Tell me where and when." He laughed evilly. "How did you sing?" "Well, let's meet. Tomorrow evening at 6 in my office. There's a comfortable couch for discussion. Waiting for you, my sweet chicken." Kelly was disgusted by the lustful male's words alone. But she pulled herself together, dressed as provocatively as her upbringing allowed. Deep-necked blouse and a tight pencil skirt, and high-heeled shoes, put on brighter makeup on her already plump lips, carefully hid and checked the recorder, and on stiff legs went to the principal. Since he had scheduled a meeting at the school, and the operative could not be openly on duty under the door, it was decided that if the situation got out of hand, Kelly would open the vent. The woman knocked and entered the office. The director was sitting in a chair, lounging imposingly and smiling carnivorously. He swept his gaze from head to toe of Kelly's face and remarked rather pleased, "Good evening, my little bird. I see that science has done you good, and you have become more cooperative. Good girl. I wish I was. Oh, what appetizing breasts. I'm on fire. Come on, take your clothes off and I'll have a look." Kelly almost suffocated from such insolence, and she was very afraid. What if he was about to jump on her and rape her? But the thought of Peter and the operatives under the window gave her courage, and she began to get champagne and candy out of her bag. "Edward, don't be so quick. I can't do that. Let's have a drink. Let's relax." He didn't mind, uncorked the champagne, and poured the liquor into glasses. Kelly, meanwhile, got to the point. "Edward, before I have to be sure that you'll give me my son. Can you promise me that? I know you had a hand in what happened, but how did you do it? I don't understand. You've managed to smear my good name a month." He grinned. "You should have been more cooperative. Then there wouldn't have been a problem. Before you, it never occurred to anyone to turn me away. You think the secretary and the gym teacher just work here. They were smarter than you, and now they get a great salary and a regular bonus. What's the big deal? A good and very close acquaintance of mine works in the guardianship authorities. It was due to my patronage that she once got there, so she paid her dues. She put your boy in an orphanage, and I hired witnesses. Money solves everything these days, believe me. I like you, I'm into you. So the more pleasure you give me, the sooner you'll get your son back. So, are you relaxed? Take your clothes off, you're talking too much." Kelly realized she couldn't wait any longer. Pretending to unbutton her blouse, she went to the window and sharply opened the vent. She prayed and waited for the police officer to arrive. The director finally lost his temper, and with an astonishing levity for his age, ran up to the woman and unceremoniously groped her, trying to tear her blouse off. Kelly began to scream and fight back. This old man was so disgusting to her that her whole being resisted. Edward began to pile on top of her, sweeping everything off the table. "Shut your mouth, stupid, there's no one here anyway. The cleaning lady's gone. Why are you fighting again? And did the bubbles go to your head? I'll teach you how to behave with a man." And he started wringing her hands. At that moment, the flimsy door flew open with a crash, and an operative burst into the office. He dashingly twisted the scoundrel and began to reprimand him. "Shame on you, citizen. At that age, you should be ashamed of your obscenities. And you're a married man. You already have grandchildren. How would they like to know what their grandfather is up to?" The director spewed curses and lashed out. "You chicken. You had me wrapped around your finger. You're gonna pay for this. I'm connected, you know that." The policeman quickly covered his mouth. "We'll deal with your connections too. How did you manage to take a woman's child away from her and keep everything closed?" Kelly finally relaxed, exhaled, and cried from the stress of the experience. "Will I get Peter back now? He confessed to everything, didn't he? Did I do everything right? Here, take the tape recorder." The police officer cheered her up. "We'll figure it out. I think you'll be back together with your son in the near future. Don't worry. And we'll put the scoundrel in jail. There's no place for people like him behind bars." The case came out loud. The lecherous principal was convicted. The townspeople were outraged at how he had worked at the institution for so many years. Kelly was reinstated and given her even name back. And most importantly, after numerous inspections and proceedings, she got her son back. The woman sobbed and kissed her son without stopping, and he too could not open his arms. They left the hated orphanage, holding hands and not looking back. Andrew was looking forward to meeting his own son. He was so involved in Kelly's business and problems that he forgot all about Cindy. But she was just observing it all from the sidelines and decided to clear the air. "Honey, what's going on anyway? You're always on edge, calling somebody, fidgeting, all about some Kelly and her son. Can you explain something to me?" The man could not see the young wife's face, twisted with rage, but he could feel the vibes of hatred and anger emanating from her. Suddenly, at that very moment, he realized that he did not want to live with that woman another day. After all, they would never get along with his daughter, it was obvious, and Andrew, in fact, did not really love her. It was more a passion, an obsession, which quickly faded away. All the more so as Cindy became more and more insolent and bossy in his house, and was becoming almost uncontrollable, imagining herself the mistress of everything. Andrew sighed heavily and began an unpleasant conversation. "You're right, Cindy. We need to have a serious talk a long time ago. I'll answer your question first. Kelly is my first and oldest love. We went to music school together. Then we stupidly broke up. It turned out that at that time she was already pregnant, but did not know it herself. She gave birth to a son and named him Peter. So now I'm the father of 2 children, Maria and Peter. Cindy surged. Even better. You mean to tell me that in addition to your spoiled daughter, there's going to be a boy living here? That's just awful. I don't even want kids of my own yet, but you're giving me other people's kids. Andrew grinned bitterly. You didn't listen to me. Cindy, our affair was so quick and so fast that I didn't have time to understand it myself, but the passion faded quickly. And after 2 years, we are almost strangers. Don't you agree? You don't get along with Maria, and you're probably not going to get along with her. When I saw Kelly many years later, I realized that I still loved her like I did when I was young. I know you don't like hearing this now, but I'm not going to lie and twist it. Tomorrow I'm going to make an appointment with the doctor for an eye operation. And then I guess we'll have to break up. Don't worry, I'll leave you the apartment in a residential area and the car I gave you. And then I'm sorry, you're on your own. You'll have to find a job and live like everyone else. Cindy jumped up and down and shrieked in a voice not her own. Add an application. I'm your wife, period. So I own half of all your property and business. Okay. Look, he's gonna leave me the apartment. I'll take everything I'm owed. Ungrateful. I've been living with you for 2 years, putting up with your obnoxious daughter. You should at least say thank you. By the way, I'm not going to live with you anymore either. I don't want to have another little brat around my neck. I'm only 25. I've got my whole life ahead of me. I want to have fun. I want to get high, not babysit other people's kids and a blind husband. That's when Andrew couldn't take it anymore. Ah, now you're talking? So while I was healthy, gave gifts, bought gold, was a good man, and you don't need a blind husband for nothing. Well, then we can say goodbye now. I won't keep you. Onward to new achievements. Cindy realized that she had said too much and was clearly overreacting. So she spun around like a frying pan and abruptly changed tactics. Honey, wait. Let's stop for now. We both overreacted and said too much. Let's get well, get better, and we'll save this unpleasant conversation for later. All right? Andrew, don't rush with the operation. It is not necessary. The doctor said in a month, not earlier. Otherwise, God forbid complications will occur. Come here, I'll kiss you. But it all sounded so phony and fake that the man only pulled away from his wife and responded sharply. As you know, I've said everything. Excuse me, I need to listen to the tape of the meeting the deputy sent me. Cindy stormed out of her husband's office, bursting inside with rage. You crippled bastard. He's getting a divorce. He's in love, you see, with the school. He's going to leave me the apartment. And what will I live on? Go to work? God forbid. That's not what I was born for. Well, wait, I'll arrange it for you. You'll remember me for a long time. Andrew did not listen to his wife and decided to arrange a consultation with the professor. Kelly volunteered to go with him, to support him in a friendly way. It was so touching and pleasant. Miranda and Maria had just that day after school to go to sections, drawing and modeling. They arrived late and both were swooning. The house was a mess. The safe was open and empty. A lot of expensive things and appliances had gone missing. Miranda was scared to death and immediately called the police and the owner. Andrew, we have a problem. We just got back from Maria, and there's this. You were robbed. Everything's a mess. The safe's open. There's no TV. There's no papers on your shelf. Maybe something else. I don't get it right away. I called the police. Come quickly. I'm begging you. I'm so scared. Everything turned over inside the man. He was afraid for his daughter, and he ordered Miranda. So go with Maria to the nursery immediately. Lock yourself in there, and don't open the door for anyone until I get there. I won't be long. He immediately forgot about his illness, said a quick goodbye to Kelly, explained the situation, and rushed home faster than the wind in a cab. Just as the police arrived, terrified Maria immediately threw herself around her father's neck. Daddy, how good of you to come. Miranda and I came home, and here it was. I was so scared. The man stroked the child's head and soothed him. Where is Cindy? Have you seen her today? Don't cry, we'll use the cameras to find the thief. Miranda replied. Your wife left early this morning and didn't come back. Well, at least not until I went to school for Maria. How awful. And most importantly, the door is not broken into. That's what's interesting. So the burglars had the keys. But where from? I don't understand. Andrew turned on the camera footage and was horrified. It was an ugly picture. Cindy and her chauffeur, John, were running around the house, taking everything out in a hurry. Hardware, jewelry, money, and valuables. The wife had no idea there were cameras, so she was getting angry and screaming. Take that, you bastard. You'll remember me again. It's all right, John, it's for the best. We can't hide forever and make love in the garage at night. And this way we'll live like human beings. We'll just have to get that cuckold back. John threw angrily, you lucky bastard. He couldn't finish him off then, he was only blind. Otherwise, Maria would have been sent to an orphanage and lived here like kings. And where did that patrol come from? It never passed through there. Cindy shouted in her own way at John. Come on, hurry up. It's not long before the babysitter and Maria come back. Now it's time to sell everything quickly, and we can book tickets to the warmer lands. I can't believe my dream is coming true. The sea, palm trees, and John nearby. The rascals locked the house with their key and drove away in John's minibus. Andrew was simply shocked, so was everyone there. But now everything became clear to the police. They quickly took the fingerprints and rushed to catch the sweet couple of lovers who decided to steal the last thing from the owner. The daughter hugged and comforted her father. And I told you a long time ago, Daddy, that Cindy doesn't like us. She's mean and bad. And you didn't believe me. You'll kick her out now, won't you? Andrew kissed his princess. What an adult you are. Yes, Cindy won't be living with us anymore. But I'd like you to meet a nice woman. Remember, she came to see us once. Her name is Kelly, and she has a son, Peter. He's your brother. It's a long explanation. You'll grow up, then you'll understand. I really hope you two get along. That's very important to me. And Cindy and Uncle John will surely be punished by the police and put in jail. The daughter suddenly asked anxiously, Daddy, what did the doctor tell you? Will your eyes see again? Andrew responded to his daughter, I'm going into surgery on Monday. You will be with Miranda all the time, and Peter will be with you. His mother will go to the hospital with me. Please don't hurt him, your family, after all. Do you promise? And listen to Miranda. Be a good girl. The police quickly found the wretched lovers in John's apartment and handcuffed them and took them to the police. Now they were both facing a decent sentence for attempted murder and theft. Cindy was in a panic. The gray, damp, government walls, the dirty mattress, the horrible stew were causing her indescribable horror. It was only now that it began to dawn on her fully what awaited her. She cried day and night and cursed herself with the last words. Idiot, why couldn't I live in peace? After all, like cheese and butter. And now what? Why did I need this John at all? What a miserable Don Juan. We must see Andrew immediately and beg for forgiveness. He's kind. He'll forgive me and get out of this town, anywhere but prison. In the meantime, Andrew filed for divorce, entrusting his lawyer with all the hassle, and went into surgery. Kelly was by his side. Miranda and the children were left to fend for themselves. Peter was shy and timid at first, but the perky fidget Maria quickly made friends with him and found a common language. And after a day, he felt at home in the mansion. The boy turned out to be musically gifted as well. He easily learned to play the piano. Miranda happily played with the children and learned simple motives. The girl was very worried because she was responsible for 2 children at once. After school, they went necessarily to visit Andrew in hospital. The operation was successful, and soon the bandage would be removed from his eyes. Everyone waited impatiently and excitedly for that moment. During this difficult time, Andrew, Kelly, Miranda, and the children became so united that they truly became one big and friendly team. Maria and Peter understood that their father was ill and tried not to spoil and upset him, especially since they always had fun and interesting things to do with Miranda. Finally, Andrew waited, and the blindfold was gently removed from his eyes. The bright light immediately struck his eyes, and he instinctively squeezed his eyes shut. Tears came pouring down in a hailstorm. Then the man slowly opened them and finally saw the world as it had been before the tragedy. The doctor examined Andrew and was pleased and told him to get ready for discharge. When Andrew himself came out of the office, smiling broadly, and saw Kelly in the corridor, he exclaimed, my darling, I knew you hadn't changed at all over the years. You'd only gotten prettier. The same chubby lips and curls, long eyelashes, and curl tucked behind the ear. Kelly, you look so beautiful. I finally get to look at you, admire every second of you, and see my son. Thank you, Miranda. I'll thank her for the rest of my life for playing our tune on the piano. Believe me, I almost swooned. It stirred everything in my soul. You wrote it yourself. God, Kelly, I'm so happy to have you back in my life. I'm ready to sell the hell out of this business. I've been sick of it for a long time. I've made enough money over the years that my whole family can live comfortably for many years. So let's try to live the life you wanted. In love, in peace, enjoying each other and the music we love. Do you mind? Kelly cried tears of joy and hugged Andrew tightly. You fool. Those were the words I expected from you at the time, you know. I was so offended that you chose money and business over our love and vocation for music. Of course I agree. I still love you after all. To me, you're always the same donut I adored. Do you remember the first time we kissed? You played me the Moonlight Sonata, and then we spent half the night searching the night sky for the Big Bear's dipper and kissing passionately. You wrapped me in your jacket and held me tenderly against you, hiding me from the rain, and I was the happiest at that moment. Can you believe it? Let's go home. Everyone there was waiting for us. When Maria saw her father walking confidently out of the car himself, she realized what he was seeing and immediately threw herself at his neck. Hooray, Daddy, you're cured. I'm so glad. Come quickly, we made you such a cake, you'll love it. Peter and I helped Miranda. You're gonna love it. Peter stood shyly aside, not daring to approach Andrew. They had never spoken until now. The man told Maria to run into the house, and he approached the boy. Hello there, son. Finally, I can see, and I can look at you. I can't believe we look alike. My ears and smile are exactly the same. You can't turn it away. Mom already told you that I'm your daddy. The first thing I apologize to you, kid, is that I didn't know anything about you before. Or rather, I didn't even try to find out. And 9 years of your life have passed me by. But now that we've met, let me be a real father, the closest person to you. I'd really like that. Know that I love you, son, will never hurt you, and will always support you in everything. He held out his hand to the boy, who shook it firmly, man to man, and then said quietly, I'm glad I have you now, Daddy, and I see my mother smiling. Andrew couldn't hold back his tears and hugged the baby tightly to him. Now we're all going to live at my place, one big family. You and Maria seem to be getting along. She's your little sister, so stick together, support each other through life. Shall we go to lunch? Since that day, the life of big businessman Andrew has changed dramatically. He became a completely different person. Unexpectedly, he sold his successful and prosperous business and went into the care of his family and music. With what pleasure he took his time every morning to come to the piano and play from the heart his favorite and long-forgotten melodies. He even pulled out an old music book. Kelly became his personal tutor, and she taught the children too. It turned out great. Still, Kelly and Andrew's natural talent was tremendous. And then they decided to take a risk and open their brainchild, a private music school. The couple got married modestly. They didn't want any publicity or attention to their lives. They didn't care about that. They both couldn't get enough of each other. It was only now that Andrew realized that all these years he had not lived his own life, but someone else's. He had chosen the wrong job, the wrong woman, and was dragging on the burden of inertia. The only thing he hadn't regretted a bit was his daughter Maria, who had been his sunshine, his stimulus to live and create. Kelly quickly became friends with Maria. Because she was soft by nature, she adored children, she worked in school. Miranda at first feared that she would now be fired for being unnecessary, But Andrew and Kelly were quick to reassure her. "What are you doing, Miranda? Don't make it up. Stay in our house. You are no stranger to us, and the guys are nowhere without you." Here and with one Maria was not bored. And now 2 pranksters. It would be nice to keep track of everyone. There was a new driver in the family, a young guy, modest and nice, himself from the village. His name was Michael. From the first day of work, he kept his eyes on Miranda. He was madly fond of this kind and pretty nurse, whom he often took with the children to the clubs and sections. So quietly, little by little, he got Miranda's attention. Her heart wavered, and they began to see each other. Andrew and Kelly were only too happy about it. Michael is a positive, non-drinking, decent guy who would be a good match for Miranda. All this time, Cindy sat in the detention center and begged to see Andrew, but he deliberately took his time and delayed until the last moment. He wanted to teach her a good lesson to discourage her from wanting to steal and cheat forever. The young woman had become gaunt and fatigued, her skin dull and lifeless. The mere thought of having to spend the next few years in that musty state made Cindy feel sick, so hopeless and depressed. So when she was told that her ex-husband was ready to meet her, she almost jumped for joy. When Cindy entered the conference booth, skinny and bloated, wearing a crumpled tracksuit and a greasy tuft of hair at the back of her head, he recoiled, so different from the Cindy he had known. She had changed a great deal. Not a trace of her former self-confidence and impudence was left. The woman began to ask quietly with tears in her eyes, "Forgive me, Andrew, if you can. I know it's all my own fault. Now I'm left like an old woman at a broken trough. I'm begging you, take my statement. I don't want to go to jail. I'm dying here. I promise I'll go straight back to my mother. I'll never come into your life again. Have pity on me." "I'm sorry," Andrew replied. "I hope prison has served you well, and you won't steal anymore, at least not from the hands of the man to feed you. And you won't kill your next husband either." That plan didn't work. I can see now. My eyesight is completely restored. Just so you know, Maria is a great kid and gets along with both Miranda and Kelly and her brother Peter. And it wasn't about her at all. It was about you. You're a mean, calculating egomaniac who only thinks of her own interests. I'll take the application. But if you ever show up, you'll end up in jail for sure. I've kept the security tapes. There was no cover. Andrew was right about everything. Cindy cried and whispered softly, "Thank you. You're a real person." The family lived in peace and harmony, and now many people in the city and their children were eager to go to our hero's private school. Miranda taught the children with such love and gave all of herself to this beloved cause. Maria and Peter also played, but the boy chose the guitar and drums, and Maria chose the piano. Kelly often composed her own tunes, and Andrew wrote poems, and they had family songs which they all enjoyed playing together. At last, Andrew's life was filled with the meaning he had dreamed of.